Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a peaceful demonstration, organized by an environmentally conscious community, opposing the Pyeongtaek Asan Bay Resort Development Project. Tensions rise as a group of hired thugs infiltrates the protest, posing as community members to incite chaos. Among the disruptors are Chi-won, a masked instigator, Ji-gun, who is overweight, and Jin-suk, who struggles with a respiratory illness. Their mission is to provoke disorder, and they succeed spectacularly. The demonstration spirals into violence, as the thugs clash with police officers assigned to maintain order. Jin-suk's erratic behavior leads him to unintentionally knock out a policeman, escalating the situation. The unfolding mayhem captures the attention of media crews on site, heightening the public scrutiny. Amidst the chaos, Jin-suk is apprehended, and the demonstration is quelled. Following the event, prosecutor Byun Jae-wook interrogates Jin-suk, the prime suspect believed to have orchestrated the disruption. Despite Byun's aggressive questioning, Jin-suk staunchly denies any involvement in the riot. The investigation is intense and fraught with tension. Shifting to Jong-gil, an assistant to the prosecutor general, who receives an urgent call from a high-ranking official. The official demands that Jong-gil address the issues at the Pyeongtaek Asan Bay Resort Development Site, to ensure the project proceeds smoothly and without further disruption. During a dinner, Jong-gil reprimands prosecutor Byun for his excessive use of violence during interrogations, and his disregard for established procedures. He instructs Byun to refrain from investigating Jin-suk's assault case, and prohibits any further interrogation. Despite this, Byun remains resolute, convinced that something is amiss, and determined to uncover the mastermind behind the thugs' actions at the protest. Later in the evening, he visits Jin-suk in the interrogation room and questions, but the answers are unsatisfactory, as Jin-suk repeatedly claims to be a concerned environmentalist. Jin-suk, intermittently using a nebulizer, due to his respiratory condition, explains his opposition to the project, citing that the land is a crucial migratory route for birds traveling from Russia, providing them a vital resting and feeding spot after their long journey. Byun remains skeptical, dismissing his explanations as fabricated, and his frustration escalates, leading him to forcefully strip Jin-suk, and slam his body against the interrogation table. When Byun discovers tattoos on his body, his suspicions intensify, reinforcing his belief that Jin-suk is a thug, rather than a genuine advocate for the environment. The next day, Byun, who has chosen to stay late at the office, is awakened by his partner, Min-woo, who cautions him against using violence in interrogations. When Byun resumes his questioning, he is devastated to discover that Jin-suk has died. With Byun being the last person to see him alive, he is quickly accused of being responsible for Jin-suk's death, due to the alleged abuse during interrogation. The scandal severely tarnishes the reputation of the Suwon prosecutor's office. In a bid to quell public outrage, General Jong-gil publicly apologizes, and addresses the media to mitigate the backlash. Despite this, the trial proceeds with overwhelming evidence, seemingly implicating Byun. He argues that Jin-suk's death was due to his pre-existing respiratory condition, contradicting Ji-gun's claim that Jin-suk was in good health. Despite Byun's defense, the evidence against him is compelling, and he is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Meanwhile, General Jong-gil, now free from his prosecutor general duties, is seen throwing a nebulizer into a river. Upon entering prison, Byun faces hostility from other inmates, who resent him for his role in their imprisonment. He recalls a promise from General Jong-gil, who had assured he would receive help if he admitted guilt, but instead finds himself abandoned and betrayed. As Byun endures the harsh conditions of prison life, and suffers from constant bullying, a turning point comes when he helps a deputy warden resolve a complex civil law issue. Drawing on his extensive legal expertise and prosecutorial experience, Byun's assistance earns him a unique status within the prison. He becomes a valuable resource for both guards and inmates, gaining their respect and loyalty. He begins to improve his prison life, sharing food and cigarettes with fellow inmates, and offering legal advice to those in need. His newfound role as a mediator and advisor provides him with a semblance of control and respect in the harsh environment of incarceration, marking a small yet significant change in his otherwise troubled existence. 5 years after his imprisonment, now a respected figure among the inmates, he encounters a new prisoner, Chi-won, a swindler who has been sentenced for fraud. Chi-won's curiosity about Byun's high status and his ability to potentially reduce or shorten prison terms piques his interest. During a meal in the prison dining hall, as inmates enjoy cigarettes provided by Byun, Chi-won watches a television program about bird migration. He recounts details about a flock of birds migrating from Russia, and stopping at a specific location after a long flight. Byun is startled, Chi-won's description mirrors exactly what Jin-suk had said during their earlier interrogation. Intrigued and suspicious, Byun confronts him with intensity, convinced that he has a connection to Jin-suk. He however remains tight-lipped, and walks away without revealing anything. Later, he visits his lawyer to seek an appeal, and potentially reduce his sentence. The lawyer, finding no loopholes in his case, informs him that the judge's verdict is final. Byun, seizing the opportunity, approaches them, offering his legal prowess to find a gap in his case that could lead to a reduced sentence or early release. Impressed by Byun's detailed and insightful legal knowledge, the lawyer begins to respect him. Byun then requests a private meeting with Chi-won in his cell. He proposes a deal: he will help Chi-won secure an early release, in exchange for Chi-won's assistance in uncovering the truth behind the Pyeongtaek Asanbae project riot, and Jin-suk's death. After some deliberation, Chi-won agrees. He recounts his past with Jin-suk. They were both unemployed, when they were offered lucrative jobs to disrupt the protest. Briefed on bird migration as part of their cover story, they were dispatched to the protest site, to incite chaos and damage the reputation of the environmental community. Chi-won reveals that their recruiter was a man named Yun-sok, who orchestrated the disruption. Byun, now closer to unraveling the mystery, prepares to delve deeper into the connections between the riot, Jin-suk's death, and the enigmatic figure Yun-sok. He devises a plan to confront those who wronged him and were responsible for Jin-suk's death. He trains Chi-won to help execute this plan, and prepares for a counterattack against those who set him up. He arranges for Chi-won to file an appeal, which could lead to his early release. Chi-won approaches Ji-gun, who is now in a vulnerable state. By getting Ji-gun drunk, he learns that Ji-gun was paid by Yun-sok to lie in court, claiming Jin-suk was healthy when he was not. Unbeknownst to Ji-gun, Chi-won records their conversation, and sends the tape to Byun in prison, who quickly prepares the necessary documents to appeal to the judge, including the evidence of Ji-gun's false testimony. This evidence is submitted to court for review. However, Yun-sok spots the appeal, and alerts Jong-gil, revealing their involvement in the violent demonstrations and Jin-suk's death. Jong-gil had forcibly taken Jin-suk's nebulizer, and framed Byun to cover his own tracks, and those of other powerful figures. Realizing that Ji-gun has leaked crucial information, Yun-sok violently assaults him. Jong-gil, now aware of the appeal, rushes to Min-woo, the new assistant prosecutor general, and tries to prevent the appeal from being processed. Chi-won visits Ji-gun in the hospital, and seeing his severe condition, becomes fearful for his own safety, and hesitates to continue the plan. Nevertheless, Byun reassures him and urges him to keep pushing for the truth. Knowing that Jong-gil has connections with high-ranking officials, Byun instructs him to infiltrate Jong-gil's office, and gather evidence from his campaign finance records. Chi-won disguises himself as a campaign supporter, to gain access to the office. Using charm and deception, he manages to retrieve and photograph the financial records. The next day, shocking news breaks about Jong-gil's financial irregularities, revealing payments linked to the Pyeongtaek Asanbae project, and implicating high-ranking officials who supported the project. This scandal leads to suspicions that Jong-gil orchestrated the chaos at the demonstration. Byun and Min-woo face the judge to discuss the appeal. Initially, the judge seems reluctant to accept it, due to the time elapsed. However, when Byun reveals that his earlier confession was coerced by Jong-gil, Min-woo and the judge are shocked, and agree to review the appeal. Furious, Jong-gil curses Min-woo, who now disillusioned, decides to distance himself from Jong-gil. Elsewhere, Chi-won plans to bribe a former trusted aide of Jong-gil now living in poverty, to obtain more crucial information. Meanwhile, Jong-gil escalates his efforts. He orders the prison warden to conduct a thorough inspection of Byun's cell, destroying all evidence related to his investigation. This move is designed to mentally and psychologically pressure him, hoping to derail his appeal, and halt his quest for justice. Determined to silence any potential threats, Jong-gil discovers that Byun has allies outside the prison. He instructs Yun-sok and his henchmen to attack Chi-won. As they prepare to kill Chi-won, police intervene, and arrest Yun-sok and his crew, who have been under surveillance for their violent acts, including abuse against Ji-gun. Meanwhile, the former associate of Jong-gil blackmails him for money, who, desperate to keep his past crimes hidden, complies to hide the only witness who knows about the nebulizer he took from Jin-suk. On the day of the trial, journalists gather outside the courthouse, drawn by the high-profile nature of the case, and its implications for a mayoral candidate. As Byun prepares for court, he is attacked by a prisoner, an act orchestrated by the warden on Jong-gil's orders. Despite his injuries, he manages to attend the trial, where Chi-won testifies about Jin-suk's true health condition, and exposes Jang Yun-sok and General Jong-gil's role in orchestrating the chaos at the demonstration. Jong-gil remains calm, and denies all accusations, confident that Byun lacks the evidence to convict him. However, Byun surprises everyone by presenting a recording obtained from the former associate. The tape captured a conversation between Jong-gil and Byun about Jin-suk's nebulizer, and Byun reveals the actual nebulizer was hidden. When Jong-gil dismisses the nebulizer as fake, Byun plays a portion of the recording where Jong-gil admits the nebulizer was thrown into the river. The evidence and the tape lead to Jong-gil's conviction for Jin-suk's death and related crimes. Byun Jae-wook is released from prison, and greeted outside by Chi-won, who has been waiting for him. Their alliance, forged through struggle, stands as a testament to their quest for truth and justice. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.